Hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm just going to make this video. Hopefully, you'll bear with me. I just want to be a source of encouragement for people, because if you're watching this video, you probably, looked up something related to BFS, muscle twitching, ALS even, and maybe you're in the same dark spot that I was in for a long time, and you'll know what I'm talking about after I share my story. Anyways, I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's a small city in southern New Mexico, about 30 minutes north of El Paso, Texas. I am a school teacher. I've been teaching for 21 years. Prior to that, I was in the Army for 9 years, 3 years active, 6 years Guard and Reserve. I am also a coach. I coach football, basketball, track. Very active, very physically fit. I love to play sports. I love to run, which I do frequently. But anyways, in late August, early September of 2019, I was in my classroom, and I was standing there, and I had felt a weird vibration above my left knee. And the best way to describe it is the way a cell phone feels when it vibrates in your back pocket. So that was the feeling I had in my left knee right above it, and it only lasted for a couple of seconds. And I thought, okay, that's kind of weird, but since it was so brief, I didn't think nothing of it, so I just continued going about my day. And then I went to my desk to sit down and do some work at the computer, and I noticed my calf muscles, both legs, were twitching. They were just like fluttering, twitching, you know, no sensation, no pain, just the twitching. And I thought, okay, this is kind of weird. And I started putting two and two together. I had a vibration above my left knee, and then I got this twitching going on, and never had this happen before my entire life. So immediately, what do? I do what most people do. I get on Google and I type in muscle twitching, and I, hit enter, and the list populates. And at the top of the list are like all these neurodegenerative conditions, ALS being one of them. And as you scroll through, there were more benign conditions, benign fasciculation syndrome, BFS. And you may have researched or looked up BFS on YouTube and, found this video. I don't know. But I started reading about like ALS. And, twitching, muscle twitching is one of the symptoms of these neurodegenerative conditions. So I started reading about ALS, and it said that weakness was a presenting condition, presenting symptom. So, I didn't freak out or nothing like that, but I remember I started going to bed, and when I woke up in the morning, after every morning for like 30 days, I did, toe raises, calf raises, make sure my legs were functioning. And they were, so I was, fine with that. I was still running, coaching, playing basketball, doing all the things I normally did. No big deal. So I had bought some concert tickets to see my favorite band, Tool, in Denver, Colorado, and Tucson, Arizona. And I went to Denver, flew to Denver, and watched Tool. And I was there for a day, and I did a 12-mile run from my hotel into downtown Denver and back, and felt great. No big deal. And came back, and then I geared up to go see Tool next week in Tucson. So I went, and this is where things started, freaking me out. The events I'm about to describe to you, and kind of what took me down the proverbial rabbit hole, which a lot of people who have muscle twitching, they go into a very dark place, and this may be you, because they look at Dr. Google and they start finding all these symptoms and they start freaking out. But anyways, I went to eat in Tucson, and then I went to the bathroom to wash my hands prior to eating. And while I was in the bathroom, I either felt or heard, it was an audible pop in my ear or my head. I could not tell. It sounded like this. That's what it sounded like. So anyways, I had that pop, and immediately I developed a massive gag reflex in my throat. I mean, just immediately. I could not swallow food. I could only swallow it with intense laboring and a feeling like I was going to throw up every time I did. And that lasted for at least a month. Okay. So anyways, I start like freaking out, start wondering what's going on. I had this vibration in my knee. I had calf muscles twitching. Then I had this pop in my head and this immediate gag reflex. So I'm thinking something's wrong, something's not right. So I contact the VA because I get my health care through the VA and schedule an appointment with my primary care doctor. And she, scheduled blood work, sent me for a brain MRI, did all this testing, and I told her I needed to see a neurologist. And she scheduled me with a neurologist in El Paso, the VA hospital in El Paso, Texas. Also had a brain MRI, like I said, and the brain MRI came back clean. No lesions or anything like that. And blood work all came back clean. But then I eventually went to see the neurologist. He did the initial consultation stuff. He did the reflex and the strength test. All that was normal. But all the while this is going on, I keep researching on the internet, like ALS, neurodegenerative conditions, all this stuff. I am slowly in my mind convincing myself that I have something like this wrong with me. All right. I literally went through a phase where I did not sleep for a month at all. And I mean, I'm not even over exaggerating. I would go to bed and I would shut my eyes, but I would never really go to sleep. So my body, I mean, that was bad for my body. It was like it wreaked havoc on my body. And one of the things associated with ALS is weight loss. And I was always a very lean person. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to start eating a bunch and gain weight, because if I can gain weight, then this means I don't have ALS. And I'm telling you, man, crazy things come to your mind. But the odd thing was, and I don't know what I did to my metabolism by not sleeping. I don't know if I forced my body into a hyper-metabolic state, but I was eating like crazy, and I couldn't put a pound on at all. I mean, I was going to the Pickwick, which is, a convenience store in our town, and I was like buying trash food, junk food, and I was consuming massive amounts of it, hoping I could put on weight, but I wasn't able to put on weight at all. It was so, knowing that weight loss is a symptom of ALS, I am further inducing myself to believe that I've got something wrong with me, probably ALS, and crazy things going on like that. So I went to see this neurologist. He tested me, everything was fine. My reflexes, my strength, all that. But I told him, I said, Doc, I want to see a neurologist and get a EMG and a nerve conduction study. And EMG, electromyocardiogram, whatever, it's a muscle test. And a nerve conduction study, these are the clinical tests that help you determine if you have something wrong. So after a while, he finally relented and said, okay, I'll do that. So he outsourced my testing to Texas Tech, which is part of the Texas Tech Hospital in Texas, obviously. So I had to go see another neurologist, and she was a great lady, this neurologist, and she looked at me and she said, "You got nothing wrong with you." She's all, I guarantee you have nothing wrong with you. She did the initial consultation as well, because even if you see one neurologist and you go see another one, they have to start the process all over with the initial stuff. She did the strength, the reflex, it was fine. She tells me, she said, "I guarantee you have nothing wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you at all." And I said, "Doc, I want a EMG and a nerve conduction study." And she said, "Well," she's all, "if that's what you want, if you want to put yourself through that torture," she said, "I'll schedule it for you." So she did, and I was supposed to go back like 3.5 weeks later. So anyways, during this time, because between tests, it takes a while to schedule these tests, I keep reading about neurodegenerative conditions, ALS. I'm thinking of my throat. And incidentally enough, they also, my doctor also scheduled me, and I got a barium swallow study. Everything was fine, but I'm still freaking out. And I keep researching all these things, and I'm convincing myself that I have ALS or some serious neurodegenerative condition. And I'm just adding this anxiety in my life, and my body is responding directly to the anxiety that I'm putting into myself. All right. So the day comes when I'm supposed to go get my nerve conduction study and my EMG, and I'm with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, who was an amazing person who stuck with me through this whole process, and I owe her a debt of gratitude that I can never repay. But we're going to Texas Tech to get this done, and about 5 minutes out, I get a call that my appointment was canceled, and I'm livid. They canceled everybody's appointments because the COVID, situation was taking off. So I was so upset. So I turn around, and as soon as I get home, I call the VA and tell them what's going on. But God bless the VA. They've been phenomenal throughout all this. They rescheduled me with a local neurologist in just 2 days. So the neurologist, who was awesome, his name's Dr. Iqbal. He's a local doctor here in Las Cruces. He does his nerve conduction and EMG tests on Saturday. So I went in Saturday, and he did the lower extremities, the legs. He everything's fine. He's all, dude, your nerves and muscles are fine. He's all, you don't have ALS. And so I went back the next Saturday, and he does the upper, saying, you're fine. Then I tell him about ALS, if it begins in your upper body, it's called bulbar onset ALS. Okay, so I'm convinced that I have bulbar because my swallowing, what happened with my swallowing, I'm literally convinced, even though I had a barium swallow study that said everything functioned properly, I'm convinced that this is what's going on. But he's all, you've got nothing wrong with you. All right. So cleared me. I had that barium swallow. Everything came out, fine. But I'm still researching all the stuff about ALS, and I'm just furthering convincing myself that I have something wrong with me, even though every test I've taken comes back with good results, comes back negative. I had 2 MRIs of the brain, negative. I had the barium swallow study, negative. I had an EMG nerve conduction study, negative. I also had 2 MRIs of my spine, negative, nothing wrong. So after all this, and after thinking about it, things start looking up. I'm starting to relax, all right, because I'm thinking, okay, I've got no weakness. I'm still able to do all the things that I've been able to do, and nothing's happened. My throat fully fixed, and they don't know. My doctor thought I might have had a mini stroke, or what they call a TIA, a transischemic attack, that can cause swallowing difficulties. But the MRI came out clean, and they don't know. They still don't know what happened with that. Just tons of tests, and they all came back negative. Thank God. But I want to tell you and I hope this is encouraging, because I know some people go through this and they think something has to be wrong with me. But your mind is a very powerful tool. Your mind can manifest, your body will manifest these symptoms that your mind dwells on. It's a sort of, self-induced psychosis, I guess. I was just perpetually looking at neurodegenerative conditions. Got a monthly subscription to this. It was called Ask a Doctor. I don't even know, something like that on the internet. And you had to pay $30 a month. And I was constantly asking these neurologists they online about my conditions, because I was constantly wanting to hear somebody say nothing was wrong with you. I mean, I was asking these guys so many questions that they were like, hey, didn't you ask the same question last week? And these were doctors from all over the United States that would just, they were paid to answer questions. And so I was like, I got myself into what's called the rabbit hole, that proverbial rabbit hole where you just keep going in, because you can convince yourself that something's wrong with you when nothing's wrong with you. Did I have muscle twitching? Yes. Did I actually have that situation with my throat where I couldn't swallow and had developed that massive gag reflex? Yes. All right. But a lot of it was just, me doing it to myself, lack of sleep, all these things that I was putting my body through because I was dwelling and thinking on this stuff so much. So what I would like to say is, if you have something wrong, don't self-diagnose ever. Don't self-diagnose, and don't get on Google and be perpetually searching up stuff. And I know, it's easier said than done, because human nature takes over and you want to find something, some sort of, comfort, somebody who's going through something similar, that sort of thing. I mean, you get on Reddit and you look at, ALS or BFS, and that's what I was officially diagnosed with, was having a condition called benign fasciculation syndrome, is where your muscles twitch, all right, but it's benign. All right, my calf muscles still twitch. I'll get poppy twitches, here and there, but the thing is, I could have always had these, but when you're so fixated on what's going on, you will notice any little thing that's wrong with your body or you think's wrong, and you'll make it out to be something that it isn't, or something bigger than it actually is. So I made this video, so if you're going through all this stuff, don't freak out. And I know it's easier said than done, but just ALS is like a very, very rare neurodegenerative condition that affects 2 out of 100,000 people. All right, and know that there's a lot more possibilities before they come to an ALS conclusion. There's a lot higher probability that it's something besides that, like with me. But I'm telling you, folks, I thoroughly, in my brain, had convinced myself that I had ALS. And I told people, I think I have ALS. I was feeling so bad from lack of sleep, I literally went down to my human resources department at my school to see what I would have to do to retire, because I was feeling so bad. I didn't think I was going to teach. I didn't think I was going to coach. I was just trying to live life at the time, because I'm thinking, all right, I'm not going to be able to live the way I'm living now much longer. But it was my negative thinking, it was my self-diagnosing that was manifesting all this stuff in my body. Today I'm fine, thank God. I'm running, I do all that I want to do. But I just wanted to make this video. Hopefully it can be encouraging somewhat to some people who are going through similar situations. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Good luck.